I stood in front of my bedroom mirror, fastening the clasp of my diamond necklace. The stones caught the late afternoon light streaming through the penthouse windows, sending fractured rainbows across the cream-coloured walls. 30 years. 3 decades of marriage to Richard Hale, the man everyone in New York society called a visionary, a gentleman, the perfect husband. The penthouse was already transformed for tonight's celebration. 200 guests would arrive in 3 hours to toast our marriage, to admire the life we'd built together. White roses filled every room, their scent almost overwhelming. The caterers moved efficiently through the kitchen, and somewhere below the string quartet was running through their repertoire. I adjusted the necklace and studied my reflection. At 55, I'd earned every title the business world had given me. Madam Chair, the chairwoman, Victoria Hale, who'd built her family's real estate holdings into an empire spanning 3 states. The woman who never backed down, never showed weakness, never allowed emotion to cloud judgment. My phone buzzed on the dresser, an email notification. I almost ignored it, then saw the sender. First National Bank, Legal Department. My hand trembled slightly as I opened it. Re-asset transfer notification and required signature. The words blurred together at first. Collateral transfer, debt obligations, spousal consent required. I read it again, slower this time, my heart beginning to hammer against my ribs. According to this email, Richard had attempted to transfer our jointly held properties as collateral for a loan. $12 million. The bank was notifying me because under New York law, both spouses must consent to such transfers. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the silk of my dress whispering against the duvet. $12 million. We didn't need $12 million. Our quarterly statements showed healthy returns across all investments. I handled our personal finances myself. Always had. My phone rang. Olivia Brooks. I answered immediately. Olivia had been my closest friend since business school 27 years ago. She'd built one of the most respected law firms in Manhattan, specializing in complex financial litigation. Victoria. Her voice was tight, careful. Are you sitting down? I just received an email from the bank about a $12 million loan. A long pause. Then Olivia said, "It's worse than that. Much worse. I need to come over right now." "The party starts in 3 hours. Cancel it." My throat constricted. "Olivia, what's happening?" "I'm in my car. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't talk to Richard. Don't sign anything. Don't do anything until I get there." She hung up. I stood slowly, my legs unsteady beneath me. Through the windows, Manhattan spread out in every direction, the city I'd conquered block by block, deal by deal. I'd always prided myself on seeing things clearly, on never being the fool. But something in Olivia's voice had awakened a cold certainty in my chest. I walked to Richard's study and pushed open the door. His desk was immaculate as always. Leather blotter, silver pen set, a framed photograph of us from our wedding day. I was 25 in that picture, radiant in white lace. Richard's arm around my waist as we laughed at something long forgotten. I opened the top drawer. Files all neatly labelled. I pulled them out one by one, scanning contents with increasing disbelief. Statements from banks I didn't recognise. Transfer documents. Pages and pages of signatures that looked like Richard's, but witnessed by people I'd never heard of. And then, tucked in the back, a stack of photographs held together with a rubber band. My hands shook as I removed the band. Richard on a beach, his arm around a young woman in a white bikini. She couldn't have been more than 30. Long dark hair whipping in the wind, her body pressed against his. Another photo. The two of them at a restaurant, her hand covering his across the table. Another, Richard kissing her neck, while she laughed. The photographs slipped from my fingers and scattered across the Persian rug. I heard the elevator chime from the foyer, Olivia's voice calling my name. She found me in the study, surrounded by papers and photographs. She knelt beside me, her tailored pantsuit a stark contrast to my evening gown, and gripped my shoulders. "Victoria, look at me." I met her eyes. Dark, intelligent, filled with fury and compassion in equal measure. "How long have you known?" I asked. "I got the first hint 3 days ago. A colleague mentioned seeing Richard's name on some unusual filings. I've spent the last 72 hours piecing it together." She gathered the photographs into a stack, not looking at them. "The affair is the least of it." "Then what is it?" Olivia stood and pulled a folder from her briefcase. She laid it on Richard's desk and opened it, revealing columns of numbers, account statements, legal documents covered in red stamped warnings. Richard has been gambling, not just poker with friends. High-stakes operations in Macau, Montenegro, the Caymans, illegal betting rings operating through offshore accounts. He's lost approximately $47 million over the past 5 years. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the desk. "That's not possible. I review our accounts every month." "He's been moving money through shell corporations, falsifying statements. He's good at it, Victoria. Very good. But he ran out of his own assets 2 years ago, and that's when he started borrowing against joint property. The bank email is just the tip. He's tried to leverage your personal holdings, the properties in your name, even your shares in the foundation. Most of it hasn't gone through because you haven't signed the consent forms, but he's been forging signatures, creating false documents. It's only a matter of time before something sticks, and then you lose everything." I thought of Richard that morning, kissing my forehead before leaving for what he'd called an early meeting. I thought of 1,000 mornings just like it. Business trips to Hong Kong, London, Dubai, late nights at the office. The gradual distance I'd attributed to the natural evolution of a long marriage. "The woman in the photos," Olivia's jaw tightened. "Mia Carter, 28 years old. Instagram model, influencer, whatever they call it now. He's been supporting her for 18 months. Apartment in Tribeca, car, allowance, the works. Paid for with money he stole from you." My phone buzzed again. A text from Richard. "Running late for pre-party photos. Be there in an hour. Love you." I stared at those 2 words. Love you. How many times had he written them? Said them? Whispered them in the dark while planning my destruction? Olivia's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her expression turned grim. That was my investigator. Richard just checked into the Carlisle Hotel. He's not alone. "Today?" My voice came out strangled. "He's with her today? On our anniversary? Room 807. I looked down at my dress, at the diamond necklace Richard had given me on our 20th anniversary, at the ring on my finger that I'd worn with such pride for 30 years. "Olivia, can he take everything? Legally?" She shook her head. "Not legally, no. He's been trying, but most of the major assets are protected. The problem is if he successfully forges enough documents, or if you unwittingly sign something in the chaos. And there's another issue." "What?" "The people he owes money to aren't the type to wait for legal proceedings. Some of them are very dangerous, Victoria. If they think you have access to money that could pay Richard's debts, they might come after you." The room was silent except for the distant sounds of party preparation from below. Someone laughed in the kitchen. A champagne cork popped. I thought of every board meeting where I'd negotiated from a position of strength. Every deal I'd closed by staying calm when others panicked. Every crisis I'd navigated by seeing 3 moves ahead. "What do I need to do?" Olivia pulled out her phone. "First, I'm calling the bank to freeze all joint accounts. Then we're filing an emergency motion to prevent any asset transfers. My investigator has been gathering evidence of the forgeries and the illegal gambling operations. There's enough here to bury him legally and financially. Do it." She made the calls while I stood at the window, watching the sun sink lower toward the Hudson River. Behind me, I heard Olivia's voice, crisp and authoritative, setting machinery in motion that would dismantle my husband's house of lies. When she finished, she came to stand beside me. "There's one more thing. The FBI has been investigating the gambling operations Richard's been involved with. Money laundering, racketeering, the whole package. My contact there says they're planning to move in the next week or so. If you want to talk to Richard before that happens, tonight might be your only chance. He's coming here in an hour. I know. Do you want me to stay? I shook my head. I need to do this alone. Olivia squeezed my hand. You're the strongest person I know, Victoria. Don't let him make you forget that. She paused at the door. And Victoria? In New York State, he can't touch anything without your signature. Remember that. You hold all the power here. You just didn't know you needed to use it. After she left, I called the event coordinator and cancelled the party. Food poisoning, I said. Terribly sorry. We'd reschedule. Then I changed out of the evening gown and into cream trousers and a black silk blouse. I took off the diamond necklace and replaced it with a simple gold chain. I removed my wedding ring and set it on the dresser. When Richard arrived, I was sitting in the living room. The files and photographs arranged neatly on the coffee table in front of me. I heard his key in the lock, his familiar footsteps in the foyer. Victoria, where is everyone? I thought the party started at 7. He appeared in the doorway and I studied him as if seeing him for the first time. 60 years old, still handsome with his silver hair and tailored suit. The man I'd built a life with. The man I'd trusted with everything. His eyes swept the room, landing on the empty space where flower arrangements should have been. Then on me, then on the table. His face went absolutely still. Sit down, Richard. What's going on? Where are the guests? I cancelled the party. Sit down. He moved slowly into the room, his eyes never leaving the photographs visible on the table. He sat in the chair across from me, his hands gripping the armrests. Victoria, I can explain. Can you? Explain $47 million in gambling debts. Explain 18 months with a woman young enough to be your daughter. Explain forging my signature to steal my assets. His mouth opened and closed. Then he leaned forward, his voice taking on the smooth, persuasive tone he'd used in 1,000 business negotiations. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. The investments went bad and I tried to fix it. I was trying to protect you, protect us. Everything I did was to save what we built together. I laughed, a harsh sound that surprised us both. You were at the Carlisle Hotel 2 hours ago, with her, on our anniversary. His face flushed red. That's not what you think. Room 807. You checked in at 3:45. Shall I tell you what you ordered from room service? Because my investigator can provide that too. The persuasive tone vanished. His expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, something cruel. You want to know the truth, Victoria? Fine. I'm suffocating. I have been for years. You control everything, every decision, every dollar, every goddamn minute of our lives has to be run past the great Victoria Hale. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? Being Mr. Victoria Hale? So you stole from me? I took what I needed to breathe, to feel like a man again instead of your accessory. I stood and he flinched. The movement was small, but I saw it. This man who'd shared my bed for 30 years was afraid of me. You took what you needed. Let me tell you what you took, Richard. You took my trust, my respect. 30 years of partnership. And you tried to take my business, my life's work, everything I built before I even met you. Our life's work. No. I picked up one of the bank statements. You've contributed exactly nothing to my holdings in the past decade. Every property, every investment, every success has been mine, and you've been systematically trying to hollow it out from the inside like a parasite. He stood too, his face twisted with rage. You self-righteous bitch. You think you're so perfect, so untouchable. Well, guess what? Those forged signatures, some of them went through. The house in the Hamptons? Mine now, the Colorado property, liquidated. I've been taking from you for years and you were too blind to see it. Actually, they didn't go through. He froze. I held up another document. Under New York state law, I have to consent to any transfer of jointly held assets. The bank's legal department flagged every one of your attempts. Nothing you did was valid. And now that I know what you've been trying to do, I've frozen every account, filed for emergency protective orders, and handed all the evidence of your forgeries over to the FBI. The colour drained from his face. You can't do that. I already did. About 2 hours ago. He stumbled backward, groping for the chair. Victoria, please. You don't understand. The people I owe money to, they're not the kind who take no for an answer. If I can't pay them, they'll kill me. That sounds like a you problem. For God's sake, I'm your husband. Are you? Is that what you were being when you were fucking a 28-year-old in a hotel room this afternoon? When you were forging my name to steal my property? When you were planning to let me take the fall for your illegal gambling operations? He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. His fingers dug into my skin hard enough to bruise. You're going to fix this. You're going to call Olivia and tell her to back off. You're going to sign whatever I need you to sign. Because if I go down, I'm taking you with me. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. Let go of me. Not until you agree. Let go of me right now. Something in my voice must have penetrated his panic, because his hand fell away. I stepped back, rubbing my arm where red marks were already forming. Here's what's going to happen, Richard. You're going to leave this apartment in the next 5 minutes. You're going to check yourself into police custody before they come for you. And you're going to sign divorce papers that leave you with nothing but your legal fees. You can't make me do any of that. No, but the FBI can. They'll be here in about 20 minutes to arrest you for fraud, money laundering, and a host of other charges I can't pronounce. If you turn yourself in, you might get a slightly better deal. If you run, they'll hunt you down. And trust me, you don't want to be arrested in front of everyone you know. His legs seemed to give out. He collapsed into the chair, his head in his hands. Victoria, please. I know I've made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counselling, rebuild trust. I'll cut Mia off completely. I'll never gamble again. Just don't destroy me. I'm not destroying you, Richard. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure you don't take me down with you. He looked up, and for a moment, I saw the man I'd married. Young, ambitious, full of dreams. But that man had been gone for years, replaced by this stranger who'd looked me in the eye every morning while plotting my ruin. I did love you once, he said softly. I know. I loved you too. That's what makes this unforgivable. The elevator chimed from the foyer. Heavy footsteps, multiple people. Richard's head snapped up, terror flooding his features. What did you do? I told you. The FBI. 20 minutes was optimistic. 3 agents appeared in the doorway, their credentials already out. The lead agent looked at Richard. Richard Hale, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Richard stood on shaking legs as they handcuffed him. As they led him past me toward the elevator, he stopped. This isn't over, Victoria. You'll regret this. I met his eyes steadily. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you really were 30 years ago. The elevator doors closed on his face, twisted with rage and fear. I stood alone in the living room of the penthouse we'd shared for 20 years. Somewhere in the kitchen, the caterers had left a tray of champagne flutes, already filled for the toast that would never happen. I picked up one glass and walked to the windows. The sun had set completely now. Manhattan glittered in every direction, a million lights fighting back the darkness. My phone buzzed. A text from Andrew, our son. Mom, what the hell is going on? Dad just called me from a police station. I typed back, come over tomorrow. I'll explain everything. I love you. Another text, this one from Olivia. You okay? Yes. Thank you for everything. What you need. I'll handle the legal side. You focus on rebuilding. I sipped the champagne. It was excellent Dom Perignon from a case Richard had bought to celebrate tonight. Over the next 6 months, I watched Richard's empire of lies collapse completely. The FBI investigation uncovered connections to organized crime figures in 3 countries. Mia Carter, the Instagram influencer, was revealed to be a key player in the money laundering operation, using her seemingly lavish lifestyle to clean Richard's illegal gambling winnings. She turned state's evidence against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. The media had a field day. Headlines screamed about the fall of Manhattan power couple. Old friends called, some supportive, others merely curious for gossip. I learned quickly to distinguish between the two. Andrew struggled with the revelations about his father, but ultimately chose to stand with me. We grew closer during those difficult months than we'd been since he was a child. The divorce was finalized in record time. Richard had nothing left to fight with. He pleaded guilty to multiple federal charges and received an 8-year sentence. I didn't attend the hearing. With Olivia's help, I recovered every asset Richard had attempted to steal. The properties he'd tried to liquidate were restored to my name. I even bought out his shares in the business we'd built together, purchasing them from the government at bankruptcy auction. It was during the asset recovery that I learned about the Colorado resort where Richard had taken Mia on several occasions. The property was stunning, a collection of luxury cabins nestled in the mountains with views of pristine peaks. It was also deeply in debt and about to be foreclosed. I bought it. 1 year after the night that should have been our anniversary celebration, I stood on the deck of the main lodge of what I'd renamed the Phoenix Retreat. I'd poured money into renovations, hiring the best designers and landscape architects. The resort would open next month as a wellness destination for women rebuilding their lives after divorce or loss. The mountain air was crisp and clean. Wind moved through the pine trees, carrying the scent of wild sage. In the distance, an eagle soared against impossibly blue sky. My phone rang. Olivia. How's the retreat? Beautiful. You should come for opening weekend. I'll be there. Listen, I just heard from my contact at the bureau. Richard's cellmate is apparently a very chatty retired accountant who's teaching him how to do taxes. Poetic justice. I smiled. How's the foundation doing? Strong. The board voted unanimously to make you chair for another term. They're also proposing to create a legal aid program for women dealing with financial abuse in marriages. They want to name it after you. No. Name it after all of us, the ones who survived. After we hung up, I remained on the deck, watching the sun descend toward the peaks. I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago, standing in front of a mirror in diamond jewelry, preparing to celebrate a marriage that had already been dead for years. I thought about how easily we lie to ourselves, how we mistake comfort for happiness, security for love. 30 years of marriage had taught me many things, but the most valuable lesson came at the end, that the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. That strength doesn't come from hiding weakness, but from facing it head on. That sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to walk away. The diamonds I'd worn that night were in a safe deposit box somewhere in Manhattan. I hadn't looked at them since. Instead, I wore simple pieces now, jewelry I'd chosen for myself, not gifts from a man who'd been lying to me for half my life. My phone buzzed with a text from Andrew, heading to the airport now. Can't wait to see the new place. Love you, Mom. I looked out at the mountains one last time before heading inside to prepare for his arrival. The lodge smelled of fresh pine and lavender. In the main room, a fire crackled in the stone fireplace. Everything was clean, new, untainted by the past. 30 years of marriage had ended in a single night of truth. And standing here now, breathing mountain air in a place I'd bought with money I'd earned through my own work, I realized something I hadn't expected. I was free. Not just free from Richard and his lies, but free from the weight of pretending. Free from the exhaustion of maintaining an illusion. Free to build whatever came next on my own terms, with my own hands, according to my own vision. The greatest revenge, I discovered, wasn't seeing Richard behind bars or Mia's career implode, or even reclaiming everything they'd tried to steal. The greatest revenge was this, standing in the ruins of what I'd lost and choosing to build something better. I'd spent 30 years being Victoria Hale, the chairwoman, the woman who never showed weakness. And I was still that woman, still strong, still capable. But now I was also the woman who'd survived betrayal and emerged more powerful than before. The woman who'd turned the sight of her husband's infidelity into a sanctuary for others like her. The woman who'd learned that sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're truly made of. And what I was made of, I'd learned, was titanium and fire. The sun touched the mountain peaks, painting them gold and crimson. Another day ending, another beginning on the horizon. I smiled and went inside to start the next chapter of my life.